Hey, everybody, really quick. For the month of December, when you give a Magnum subscription as a gift, you'll get it for half off. That's 1 year for $24. Don't buy a scarf or a gadget. Give them something sexy and smart at savage.love. We appreciate it, and happy holidays. You're listening to the Savage Lovecast, Dan Savage's sex and relationship show for grown-ups. If you're under 18, get out of here, young'un.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on the Savage Lovecast.
People are writing in, people are asking me, people are DMing to inquire. Well, here you go. I am enjoying Heated Rivalry. I'm enjoying it a lot more than I enjoyed Heartstopper. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Heatstopper, Heart Rivalry, what? Feel free to skip ahead to the calls. For those of you who do know what I'm talking about, Heated Rivalry. It's the new show about two closeted professional hockey players who fall in love based on the romance novel series Game Changer by Rachel Reed. The discourse inspired by this show has revived the discourse about whether only gay actors should play gay roles. And we don't know if the stars of Heated Rivalry, Connor Story and Hudson Williams, are gay, but speaking as a gay and a member of the generation of gays that was deeply traumatized by William Hurt's portrayal of a gay hairdresser in the 1985 film version of Kiss of the Spider Woman, a performance for which William Hurt won an Oscar. Speaking as that kind of gay, I just want to get on the record here and say that with everything going on in the world right now, and you can't see me, but I am gesturing so frantically in all directions that I can skip cardio at the gym this week. With everything going on in the world right now, more frantic gesturing, and with an openly gay actor playing straight romantic leads in Hollywood blockbusters and being named People's Sexiest Man of the Year, Jonathan Bailey is Hollywood's most bankable star right now. With all of that going on, I think we can tolerate a little ambiguity about the actual sexual orientations of two young actors in a very niche and very entertaining show. And if casting a straight actor, assuming the actor is straight, which again, we don't know, but if casting a straight actor to play Ilya Razanov, the Russian hockey star in Heated Rivalry, if that was the only way we got to see Connor Story's ass from 312 different angles in 4 episodes, and we are keeping score here at home, I'm fine with it. Gay dudes, let's just take the win here, shall we? I've also heard some gay men say that what they're seeing on the screen isn't how gay men have sex. All right, yeah, what we have here is another TV show based on a romance novel by a woman about gay guys, but unlike Heartstopper, this was developed for television by a gay man, and I think it shows. In my opinion, yeah, I've had sex with lots of different kinds of gay men, never with a closeted Russian hockey player, although that is now on my bucket list thanks to Heated Rivalry, but the sex I'm watching in this show, while idealized, romanticized, and much better lit than any of the sex I've ever had personally, it is recognizably gay. I want to highlight one moment that seemed to me very true to the gay experience, to gay sexuality, gay male eroticism. There's this moment when Ilya, closeted, Russian, gay, or bi, he could be bi, kind of reads as bi to me, he's making out with Hudson, closeted, gay, Canadian hockey player who is definitely gay. I know, bis. In episode 4, we see Hudson have sex with a woman, but Hudson is thinking about Ilya the whole time. He is inside a woman, but he is concentrating as hard as he can on the boy he wishes was inside him, which is how I had sex with women when I was a closeted hockey star myself. Sorry, when I was a closeted gay teenager who was obsessed with musical theater. Anyway, there's this moment where Ilya and Hudson are making out, and Ilya looks at Hudson and says in the sexiest Russian accent that I've ever heard, "Get on your knees." And Hudson sinks to his knees in front of Ilya. What I think that moment captured was the way gay men fold aggression, male aggression, and male jockeying for dominance into sex. Think of the way straight guys relate to each other, jokes and put downs, pushes and shoves. It's that, but with boners and a happy ending. That happy ending being a hockey star on his knees with your dick in his mouth. It's this heady mix of desire and contempt that can be a part of gay sex, and a very liberating part of gay sex. Figuring out who's on top, figuring out who's serving and who's being served, which can change, as it does in heated rivalry, moment to moment. Again, I've never had sex with a closeted hockey player, Canadian or Russian, but that moment was familiar to me and rang true to me. One criticism that I'm not going to contextualize. If you're watching the show, you'll get it. If you're not watching the show, you won't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Just wanted to say, episode 3, yeah, that was no art major. All right, coming up on today's show, what is free use? Can two submissives who don't like to take the initiative date each other? And a woman keeps getting dumped because of her close relationship with her ex. On the Magnum, it's a What You Got with sociologist Dr. Alicia Walker, who just published a theory about why some people choose to cheat instead of doing the right thing and getting a divorce or asking for an open relationship. And finally, a little bit of business before we get to the calls. I am always hearing from people who were turned on to the show by a friend. It's something people mention to me in their calls all the time. It's something people put in their letters when they write to me at the column. My friend introduced me to your column or your podcast. Well, I have a great suggestion for the friend who turned you on to the column or the podcast. Get them something from our merch store this Christmas at savage.love/shop. You will find the perfect gift for that person. Fuck First mugs, GGG undies, ITMFA t-shirts, Feast of the Ass hats, and more. You know they love the show. They turned you on to the show. You know that they will love some Savage Love merch. And if the friend who turned you on to the show isn't already a Magnum sub, you can gift them a Magnum subscription for half off through the end of December. All right. Let's get to the calls. This episode is brought to you by Helix Sleep, the people who made my mattress and the people who are going to make your next mattress. Right now, my listeners get 20% off site-wide. Go to helixsleep.com/savage now. This episode is brought to you by Aura Frames, the best digital picture frame and the best gift ever. For a limited time, visit auraframes.com, AURA frames.com, and get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code SAVAGE at checkout. This episode is brought to you by Mars Men, supplements that support healthy levels of testosterone. For a limited time, Lovecast listeners get 60% off for life, and 2 free gifts when you use the code SAVAGE at mengotomars.com.
Hey Dan, cis woman in my mid-30s, happily married to a loving husband for over a decade, and we have 2 small kids together. A couple years ago, I asked to open up the relationship, and he was hesitant at first. So to avoid him, feeling jealous about me sleeping with another man, we agreed to sleeping with other women, had a few threesomes together. It was awesome. And I also confided in him, in kind of dirty talking, that it might be hot for me to see him sleep with another woman or have him sleep with another woman alone with specific parameters. Couldn't be someone he knew. I would need to agree first. I'd want to hear all the juicy details after. And he'd have to use protection. His mom got sick. We decided to close the relationship and focus on just the 2 of us. And so nothing materialized. Closed that all off. He went on a business trip last week and slept with a colleague. He didn't ask for permission first. He knows her. They didn't use protection, and he waited 4 days before he told me about it. So I definitely didn't get any of the juicy details. I'm angry because I feel like my autonomy around my kink has been taken away from me. And that's something that could have been really hot and sexy is now shameful. And I feel resentment around it. And so he's told me I can go and sleep with whoever I want now, and I'd love some new dick in my life. That being said, I'm really questioning if we should be building an open relationship in an otherwise trusting and loving dynamic on anger, resentment, and dishonesty. And so, Dan, what do you think? Should I go out there and get a great revenge fuck in? Is it better to sit on this and wait and see how things play out, see how I'll feel long term? Or could this potentially start, a really fantastic open relationship?
This could be the beginning of a wonderful open relationship, or this could be a total disaster. There's only one way to find out which it's going to be, or there's only one way to turn this around, because it kind of sort of already is a disaster. The relationship was closed again when your husband went on this business trip, fucked this colleague. He had it in the back of his mind. I'm sure his reptile brain and the dickful thinking seized on this and rationalized the fuck out of what he was about to do on that business trip. He had it in the back of his mind that you were okay on some level, at least theoretically, with him fucking some other woman. Because you said you had a little bit of a cuck thing going on and it was kind of hot to think about him being with another woman, not just in front of you, maybe even when you weren't there. And that was enough for him in the grip of dickful thinking and probably a drink or two to rationalize doing what he did. And then he sobered the fuck up, realized that he'd done it wrong, and then hesitated to tell you about it for a few days, but then told you about it. You say that the way he went about this robbed you of your autonomy around your kink, took the autonomy of your kink away from you because he didn't do it in the controlled way that you fantasized about him fucking some other woman when you weren't there. And that's legitimate. To want that control is completely legitimate, because what you're playing here with in your marriage, cuckolding, is scary. You're giving him this degree of freedom and you want him to perform for you some consideration for your feelings by ceding control over something that you are letting go of control of, which is his dick. But you being informed of who it's going to be, you having veto power, him, it being safe, them using protection, all of these requirements that you imposed on this should it ever happen, that made you feel safe. So yeah, the way he went about this, I see how that made you feel really unsafe, and it's not okay. And now what? Okay, one of your complaints is you weren't able to hear all the juicy details. You still have ears and he still has a mouth. You can hear all of those juicy details right now. You can tell him, and he knows that you did it wrong. This is not the way we talked about it happening, and I'm mad about that, and we're going to process my anger, and then we're going to set my anger aside, and I'm going to get out my Hitachi Magic Wand vibrator, and you are going to tell me all the juicy details while I masturbate, and you apologize and tell me the dirty details at the same time. And sort of retroactively bring this violation of the way it was all supposed to unfold, bringing it out of the cold, extend to this fuck up retroactive permission, because it, despite it being unsafe and he should go test and hopefully this woman didn't get pregnant, you could be able to forgive this, get past it, not just get past it and forgive it, but incorporate it into the dormant, open, kinky, cuckoldy, three-way dynamic that you had established prior to his mom getting sick. That's how you save your marriage, right? Or that's how you salvage this. That's how you turn this around. That's how you take this from the disaster it is right now, and that's all it is right now, to the potential great open relationship. And if you can have a revenge fuck, if you can go get some other dick without him going to pieces about it, and without it being purely a revenge fuck, but more of we have, in the wake of this violation of the rules that we had established, renegotiated the terms of our relationship to allow for retroactively what you did and allow now going forward for what I'm about to do, then it's not really a revenge in anything but sort of a twinge of revenge, a glaze of revenge. So, yeah, I think you guys could make this work. There are lots of people out there who are in happy, healthy, functioning, open relationships that are open or were opened in the wake of an affair that didn't have the kind of, I don't want to say implicit permission, because your husband did not have permission to do what he did, but didn't have the precedent that your husband's affair had. in the fact that you guys had three-ways with other women, that you talked about opening the relationship, that you talked about how it would turn you on if he fucked some other woman in front of you while you weren't there. And then he kind of did that, but he did it in the wrong way. And you're in a better position to judge whether he feels appropriately bad about that and recognizes the near-death experience that he has subjected his relationship to, and what he could lose in addition to you and your marriage is this freedom that you two had negotiated with each other prior to his mother getting sick. The relationship had been opened, and then it was closed. And now it is, door's been kicked down. It's open again. And yeah, I can't assure you it's going to be a great, healthy, functional, open relationship, because I don't know what the future holds. But I know what the present holds, and the present holds anger. It feels to me that you can spin gold from this straw. That is something that the two of you can do together. Considering where you were prior to closing the relationship, prior to his mother getting sick, prior to him fucking up like this, where you were, you can and should be able to get back there together.
Hi, Dan. So I was talking to someone recently and the concept of free use relationships came up. And so apparently my best understanding is this is a relationship with some pre-negotiated consent, sexual consent, where the agreement is you can initiate sexual activity with your partner at any time. And I guess I'm just sort of confused how that's different than being in like any ongoing sexual relationship with someone, whether that just be like a hookup or, someone you're married to or whatever along that spectrum. Like, I don't know, if you're like if you have an ongoing sexual relationship with someone, isn't there like already some implied consent that like, I am having this sexual relationship with you because I want to fuck you. So like, yes, you can initiate with me at any time. The person that I was talking to brought up that because I am very subby, that maybe that impulsivity and like in initiating like right in the moment might be really hot to me, but to like other people, maybe it doesn't happen like that. And I'm struggling to understand the difference between free use, negotiated consent ahead of time, and sort of like the implied consent of being in an ongoing sexual relationship with someone. So I feel like I'm missing something big, and I would love to know your thoughts on the differences.
Yeah, in an ongoing, established sexual relationship, friends with benefits, a boyfriend, girlfriend, enby friend, a spouse, husband, wife, anybody can initiate. That's not free use. That's not what free use means. That's not what that kink is about. Yeah, in an established ongoing relationship, either partner can initiate. When it's free use, that's power exchange. One person is the dom, one person is the sub, and in a free use agreement, the sub has negotiated away their right of refusal. I can go up to my boyfriend, I can try to get something started, I can make a move on him, let's go, let's do this. And he can roll over and say, I'm not feeling it right now. And I have to put my dick away. But in a free use relationship, if I had a free use dom sub agreement with my boyfriend, the minute I pulled my dick out and got started, in theory, he's not allowed to refuse me. I have free use of his body whenever I want it. So it's not just that I can initiate, it's that he can't refuse. That's free use. Yeah, ongoing relationship, established relationship. I got in trouble once for saying this in my column, the relationship exists in a suspended state of consent, implied consent. I can walk up to my boyfriend when he's washing dishes, which he never does when I'm around, but in theory, washing dishes and put my hands down his pants and grope him because he's my boyfriend. I didn't have to ask for his consent at that moment to do that. I can't do that to some hot guy at the gym that I've never met because we're not in a relationship. And I don't have his implied consent to initiate in that way. But that's not free use. The ability to like walk up to a partner or to a spouse, to a husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, friend with benefits and try to get something started. That's not free use. Free use is the person, the dom, in a free use situation, a free use relationship. When that person, the dom, gets something started, the sub in a free use relationship is, in theory, never allowed to refuse. In reality, sometimes people, even subs and dom-sub TPE relationships, have the flu, have food poisoning. Hopefully a dom wouldn't want to initiate sex with a sub who had food poisoning, but people can be weird and selfish and dick blind and awful, and who knows? And that might put a free use sub in the position of every once in a while having to say no. But if you have a free use agreement, you're in a DS, free use, TPE, power exchange relationship, the sub, I don't want to say is never allowed to say no, but has to default to yes as often as they possibly can. And that's different than just who gets to initiate. Hey, big spender, why not pull out all the stops this year and give the best gift ever? A gift they won't see coming, but will see themselves coming on? Get that special person in your life a Helix Sleep mattress. That's what I did for all the special people in my life in 2020, and it has been paying off for me ever since. The Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe collection. That is ours, of course. Terry will accept nothing less than Luxe. The Helix Elite collection, a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers, and even a mattress made just for kids. To figure out which mattress is right for you, take the Helix Sleep Quiz to find your perfect mattress in under 2 minutes, and your personalized mattress will be shipped straight to your door, free of charge. And with Helix's 100-night sleep trial, you can try out your new mattress, see how your body adjusts, and if you decide it's not the best fit, you are welcome to return it for a full refund. They offer models with memory foam layers to provide optimal pressure relief if you sleep on your side like I do, or models with a more responsive foam to cradle your body for essential support in stomach and back sleeping positions, and other stomach and back positions too. Plus, enhanced cooling features to keep you from overheating at night. Right now, just for my listeners, Helix is offering 20% off site-wide. Go to helixsleep.com/savage. Let them know the Lovecast sent you by going to helixsleep.com/savage. With Helix, better sleep starts now.
Hi, Dan. I'm in a great relationship where we're having good sex, but I want to be having great sex. I think there are 2 issues. One, they're not an initiator and never will be the type of person who enthusiastically pursues sex. They're sort of a subby bottom with ace-leaning tendencies. And 2, I struggle really hard with talking about what I want and need to feel sexually fulfilled. I also am a subby bottom who apparently just struggles with talking about sex. The first issue will never change, and I want to be able to accept that about my partner and find ways to work with it or around it. The second issue is totally fixable and within my control, so before I end this relationship, I really want to challenge myself to improve in this area. We have filled out a yes-no-maybe worksheet, and our desires overlap in some places, so I sort of have the roadmap, but I can't seem to get myself to start the car. I know this about my partner. They do not experience the level of desire or sexual excitement that I do. They're pretty low-key in all ways. So if I want this to change, I at least have to be the one to start it. I trust that once we get rolling, he will be much more inclined to pitch in, but he is just not an initiator type, and unfortunately neither am I. I have practiced, literally out loud in the mirror, asking for what I want, but when it comes time to do it, I completely clam up. This has been going on for pretty much my entire sexual life, and despite therapy and feeling very confident and unashamed of my desires, I can't seem to take the leap. It's incredibly frustrating for me and my partners. I can easily tell a person that I love orgasm control when we're sitting on the couch talking about sex in clinical terms, But when it comes time to remind my partner, like, let's do this thing we talked about earlier, my mouth literally won't make the words. And I know my partner wants to try gentle domination, for example, but being the one to initiate that is, in my head, a huge mountain to climb. So what do I do? What are some ways I can sort of take charge of our sexual dynamic without completely contorting myself to try and make this relationship work? Are we just sexually incompatible and I should just accept that?
Yeah, I think you should accept the fact that you're sexually incompatible. And once you've accepted that fact, what do you do about it? You don't have to break up. There are lots of people out there who are sexually incompatible in greater or lesser degrees, who make their relationships work, certain accommodations, certain amount of effort may be required to make that relationship work sexually. Maybe the relationship works wonderfully in all sorts of other ways, but it requires effort and follow through. And it sounds like your partner with the ace-leaning tendencies isn't coming through with the follow through. You say that when you're sitting together on the couch and you're talking clinically and in a detached way about the sex that you might have at some point in the future, that you can be very explicit and articulate about your interest in orgasm control or orgasm denial or delay. But then in the moment, you don't advocate for that. You don't ask for that. Why not? Why aren't you asking for it in the moment? You seem to have no problem asking me about it. You should be with someone that you feel comfortable asking for it in the moment for what you want. And I wonder what it is about your partner, and not just you, that makes you feel like, I don't know, you can't ask for it, that you would be imposing if you did ask for it, that you would basically be looking at your subby bottom ace tendency having partner and essentially saying, hey there, Stone, I'd like to get some water from you. If there's something about your partner where you feel shut down, if you feel that your partner in the moment is sending nonverbal signals to you, that they would rather not be asked to follow through with the things that you talked about when you were discussing sex, sitting side by side on the couch, yeah, maybe you're not going to be able to make this relationship work, at least the sexual part of this relationship work. And then what? Then what? Like I said, some couples accept that they are sexually incompatible and they find ways to work around it, to make it work, or maybe they de-emphasize the importance of sex in their relationship and enjoy everything else that's great about the relationship and get their sexual needs met, if not elsewhere, in some other way, by themselves. But it doesn't sound like you want to masturbate about the things that turn you on. You want to experience with a partner the things that turn you on. And this partner ain't it. So what are you going to do about it if you're sexually incompatible? Maybe you do need to end this relationship. Maybe you, knowing that you're not an instigator, you're not an initiator, and that you're subby and a bottom, maybe another subby bottom, non-instigator, non-initiator partner with ace-leaning tendencies isn't the right choice for you if you want to prioritize sexual satisfaction in your relationship, which is a perfectly reasonable thing to want to prioritize. And sexual dissatisfaction, the sex not working, is a perfectly legitimate reason for two people to end a relationship without having to go to war, without having to hate each other, that requires not waiting until the resentment has grown to such an extent that you're lashing out at each other and creating conflict that gives you an excuse to end and exit the relationship, which people will do because people feel like sex shouldn't be that important. If everything else is great about the relationship, they certainly shouldn't end the relationship over something so trivial as sex. And so enough time goes by, and the sex doesn't work, never works, no effort to make the sex work helps. And people who feel like they can't end a relationship just because the sex is bad will invent reasons why they should be able to end the relationship, will engineer conflicts about other shit, will transfer their anger and disappointment about the sex not working onto other shit that they might be able to make work or that is trivial. and could be prices of admission they would be willing to pay to be with each other if the sex was working, but it's not. So yeah, you can go. Accept that you're sexually incompatible, that you're not a match, that you are two subby bottom non-initiators, which means one of you has to become the initiator. And if that's not possible, if one of you can't do that, and clearly they're not going to do that, you say you've accepted your partner as the subby bottom with ace-leaning tendencies that they are, and they're not going to change. And if you're incapable of change, yeah, then you got to end this relationship. Then you got to break the fuck up. And you don't have to part as enemies. You don't have to napalm each other. You don't have to go to war. You can just part more in sadness than in anger. And you are likelier to part more in sadness and perhaps salvage a friendship from this relationship if you do it sooner rather than later. This episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. This year, I am blending last year's New Year's resolution with this year's gift-giving maxim, ultimatum, lodestar. No gifts that immediately end up in landfills. I want my gifts to be A, thoughtful, and B, treasured by the recipient. Aura Frames fits that bill. Everyone loves to look at pictures of their loved ones. Everyone loves to share pictures of their loved ones and with their loved ones. Aura Frames is a digital picture frame that you can preload with unlimited photos and video. Just download the Aura app, connect to Wi-Fi, and you can share images straight from your phone to your loved one's Aura frame in their apartment or their house all year long. Just think of the very special photos and videos my boyfriend and I will be sharing with each other to our matching Aura frames while we are apart. We're in a long-distance relationship. Aura Frames helps us feel close. I just have to make sure I don't mix up the pics and videos I send to my boyfriend with the pics and videos I send to my nieces. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter in the New York Times. Just use promo code SAVAGE at checkout for the $35 off. That's auraframes.com, promo code SAVAGE. This deal is exclusive to Savage Lovecast listeners, and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. And remember to support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Always let them know the Lovecast sent you. Terms and conditions apply. You can't wrap togetherness, but you know what? You can frame it with Aura Frames.
Hi, Dan. I am a woman in her late 30s in a polyamorous marriage, and I'm calling because I have completely fallen for this man who is clearly very interested in me as well. He's actually the reason that I am in a polyamorous marriage. It became clear to me that I was falling for him and that it didn't reflect any problems in my marriage, and so I was transparent with my husband and we talked about it. However, this other man is not in a polyamorous marriage. His marriage, involves a monogamous commitment. A year ago, after months of flirting and deep emotional, intense conversations and, a really intimate friendship, it seemed really clear he was interested in me too. And so I broached the subject of pursuing a relationship. He admitted he was really tempted and that he's interested and cares for me, but that ultimately he doesn't want to hurt his wife by bringing this up, and he doesn't think polyamory is for him. All of this is really a reasonable response when you're in a monogamous, committed relationship, except for two things. The first is that his marriage is kind of a mess. It has been a dead bedroom marriage for the last 13 years, and there's no romantic interest either on her part. She has said explicitly she does not love him anymore. And so what they have is a companionate arrangement. And so it seems like an odd reason not to pursue a romantic relationship. The second thing that makes his answer seem silly to me is he clearly has not reconciled himself to the fact that we're not in a relationship, because he still constantly flirts with me, sometimes very sexually, Our friendship is still very deep and emotionally intimate. We confide in each other. He texts me first thing in the morning, last thing before bed almost every day. And so it seems like his response is more about being afraid than it is about this being what he wants. So my question is, I know I brought this up with him a year ago, but is there a way to revisit the conversation? On the one hand, I think it's so important to respect somebody's no, especially as a woman. It feels to me in power differential situations that if someone wasn't respecting my no, that'd be a serious problem. And I want to give him that same respect. But at the same time, his behavior tells a different story. And I feel like if he is just afraid, fears are things that can be worked through in a relationship through conversation. And so I guess I'm asking, can I talk to him about this again? Is this worth pursuing, or do I really have to let it go?
Okay, so I think you're misusing companionate when you use it in reference to this guy's marriage. A companionate marriage is one where it's sexless. There's no erotic connection, but there is intimacy, there is affection, there is love, there is respect. And all of that, love, respect, intimacy, connection to shared history, all of that is what marriages ultimately are about in the longest of long runs. Eventually, you look at those pictures of two people in their 80s, been married for 60 years, and you don't think, they're fucking. That marriage is obviously not sexual anymore, but it is all the other things a marriage is or can be or should be. Loving, intimate, mutually supportive. But if this guy's wife looks at him and says, I do not love you, that's not companionate. Maybe they're resigned to this marriage, but they're not in a companionate marriage, even if they are still married to each other. And yet he's getting from you love, intimacy, support. He's already kind of in a poly relationship with you. You're in love with each other. You're treating him as if you love him, and he's coming to you for the kind of loving attention and intimacy, non-sexual, that he doesn't get from his wife. And I think you're allowed, in a circumstance like this, to draw his attention to highlight the contradictions here and say to him, like, look, you told me that we couldn't be together sexually because you want to be with your wife and you made a monogamous commitment that you intend to honor, even though your marriage is, according to you, according to what you've told me, sexless. I respect that. I can take no for an answer, but I'm getting a yes from you that confuses me because I'm being told that we can't be together sexually, that you aren't open to polyamory, to having multiple loves, and yet we have a very loving relationship in all respects, except we aren't fucking. And so I seem to be meeting needs that your wife refuses to meet for you, is incapable of meeting for you, that you're incapable of meeting for each other. I need you to explain that to me. You should say that to him. And then you should think about whether you want to be used in this way, whether you want to be a Band-Aid or a patch on this marriage. You are not obligated to make yourself available to this man emotionally, to have an emotional affair with a man that you would like to have an emotional and sexual affair with. You don't have to accept the terms of this relationship as laid down by him or as distorted by this weird connection he has with a woman that he happens to be married to, that he doesn't have sex with, who does not love him and tells him that much to his face. He seems to take up a lot of emotional bandwidth, and you're giving him everything that he needs and wants from you, but you're not getting everything from him that you might need and want. And so you're allowed to go to him and say, like, this does not work for me. We are poly. Obviously, we are in love with each other. I am there for you emotionally in ways that your wife is not. But I'm done. I want what I want. I want that, and I want you to fuck me too. And you should be able to go to your wife, who does not love you and does not want to fuck you, and have that conversation with her that might make it possible for us to be together, not just in the way that works for you, but in the way that works for both of us. Because the way this is working now does not work for me. And then you have to follow through and end it if he can't be the secondary partner that you would like him to be, which is not just texting you every night, humping your leg on the phone all day long, but humping you in person every once in a while. There's either space for you in his life or there isn't. You didn't get a no. You're worried about not taking no for an answer here, and it doesn't sound like you got a no. You got a, let me see what I can get. Let me see what you'll settle for. And if anyone's going to give anyone a no here, it might have to be you giving him the no. This episode is brought to you by Mars Men. Most men start losing testosterone in their late 30s. This is partly due to a protein called SHBG that inhibits the release of testosterone. Mars Men is designed to help free locked testosterone so your body can actually use it. No synthetics, no needles, just real ingredients that help you optimize energy, focus, and strength. Mars Men supports healthy T levels, energy, and stamina, and it's made in the USA and third-party tested. They offer a 90-day money-back guarantee, so there is no risk. Worst case, you don't absolutely love it and you get your money back, but over 91% of users report higher energy levels. Thousands of guys are feeling incredible results thanks to Mars Men. Just check out the reviews on the website to see for yourself. And for a limited time, Lovecast listeners get 60% off, not for the first month, not for the first prescription, not for the first year, for life, and 2 free gifts when you use the code SAVAGE at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com. Use the code SAVAGE at checkout. After your purchase, they're going to ask where you heard about them. Please support the show and tell them you heard about them on the Savage Lovecast.
Hey, Dan, one thing I've been thinking about is why is porn legal and prostitution not? I guess I just don't really understand the difference. So why don't people who are working in sex work just say, hey, we're filming it and it's porn if they ever got caught?
This is going to seem like a distinction without a difference, but here goes. Porn actors, content creators, OnlyFans models, they're paid to act. They're paid for their performance. Prostitutes are just paid for sex. Now, porn performers are performing sex for the cameras, but a prostitute, someone who's selling sex, is just selling sex to one person. They aren't creating a work of art. Performing in porn is considered artistic expression, protected under the First Amendment. For that, we have Marvin Miller, who operated a mail-order porn business in California in the 1970s, and Samuel Roth, who operated a dirty bookstore in New York in the 1950s. We have Sam and Marvin to thank. Both of these men were arrested and convicted on obscenity charges, and they appealed their cases all the way to the Supreme Court. And obscenity, thanks to Marvin and Sam, wound up being defined very narrowly. It can't be banned. It isn't considered obscene and can't be banned by obscenity laws or criminalized by obscenity laws if it has, whatever it is that we are talking about, quote, serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. That is a broad and highly subjective standard that essentially made obscenity laws, which are still on the books, and Project 2025, the authors of Project 2025, wanted to bring back and still could bring back, I guess, somehow. But currently, thanks to these twin Supreme Court decisions from the 50s and 70s, obscenity laws are unenforceable. People performing in porn, protected under the First Amendment, artistic expression. Sex workers, on the other hand, prostitutes, aren't, in theory, engaged in artistic expression. They're just fucking somebody for money. So, caller, you suggest that prostitutes, sex workers, film everything in case they get caught so they can claim they were just making dirty movies. I mean, they could, but would their clients be comfortable with that? Most people who go see a sex worker don't want there to be any evidence that they went to see the sex worker. They certainly don't want that sex worker, if they're arrested, to produce that evidence in court to exonerate themselves from the charges of selling sex. So in theory it would work, but in practice, a sex worker who filmed every one of their encounters with a client wouldn't have any clients and so couldn't be a sex worker for very long or really at all. I read up a little bit on this distinction between performing in porn and doing sex work, and one of the funny parts, bitterly ironic parts, was in theory, they held, the argument went, that the people performing in porn weren't necessarily enjoying themselves, that they weren't deriving from their performances sexual gratification. They were just acting and could be faking. Whereas a prostitute or a sex worker, I mean, they're probably faking it too. Most sex workers aren't lucky enough to exclusively have only clients that they are sexually attracted to, but the clients are deriving sexual satisfaction from the interaction. Might be a performance by the sex worker, but it's just about the sexual satisfaction of the client, and that can be criminalized, I guess. That can be against the law. Somebody was having fun, somebody had an orgasm, and they didn't make a video. They didn't put it on the internet for everybody else to enjoy, and therefore it can still be criminalized. Seems nuts, I think, because it is nuts. All right, time for listener feedback. First up, as ever, a few comments listeners left in the comment threads about last week's show at savage.love. Says BGN, for the caller who read her cheating partner's text messages to their third, I've been a Savage Love reader and listener long enough to know that when I'm not present, you can make out but not have sex is unrealistic. Unless his cock is in a cage that he can't unlock, asking grown adults who are alone to make out for a couple of hours but go no further is a big ask. Says Diana Bell, this is for the Barbie buy. The caller wondering how to describe herself as a woman who enjoys sex with women, so long as she doesn't have to eat pussy herself. I don't think we need a new term. Pillow princess is an old term, and it works perfectly. I did float that in my response, I think. And queer women, Diana continues, are going to know what you mean. Now, this part of my comment is for Dan. Dude, it was just a couple of weeks ago someone left a voicemail for you confusing the term butch with the term stone. They are not the same. The pillow princess who called in may be attracted to butches or femmes. That doesn't matter. But if she wants someone that doesn't want their parts touched, she's looking for a stone top. Noted, Diana Bell. And my bad. No excuse for this. The term stone has been around for decades and decades and decades. It is not some new term or identity unleashed on us 5 minutes ago by the hyper online queers who spend all their time inventing new terms for the sex they are not having. We are just not going to with barisexual, and I should have caught this. But as it turns out, Pillow Princess does not apply in Barbie Buy's case. She wrote in herself to say, I forgot to mention in my call that my sexual encounters with women are exclusively in group sex situations. So these women are getting plenty of attention and orgasms, often from my husband, but I think this is where my hesitation to use the term pillow princess lays, because in these settings, I am a fully active and willing participant with the penis havers. That was some important context. Thank you for dropping that into the comments, Barbie Bye. You like to have group sex, you're comfortable with some incidental same-sex play or contact during group sex. You're not a pillow princess. You're not looking for a stone top. You're just heteroflexible. We already had a term to describe you. We don't need another, but I kind of love the term Barbie Bye, and if you want to use that term to describe yourself, please feel free. And finally, no cute name, inspired by my conversation with the author of Beard, Kelly Foster Lundquist, shared a very sweet story in the comments about a very famous and very closeted gay man at a party in Las Vegas in the 1960s with his beard. The story is too long to share here. It's got a surprising reveal. I don't want to spoil it. Worth diving into the comments to read. Savage.love. It is worth diving into the comments on every show at Savage.love because it is the one and only place on the internet where you should definitely read the comments. So if you have something to say about something I said on this week's show, or you want to see what other people are saying about what we talked about on this week's show, go say it at savage.love and become part of our community. And now, Savage Love listeners who left voicemails on our answering machines about last week's show get to have the last word on this week's show.
Hi, Dan. This is a response for episode 997 for the woman whose partner was having an emotional and physical affair with their third person. It's just so astounding how a guy who has it all could do something as shady as this. And honestly, I would ask you to consider what he would be capable of doing in the future. Like, if you let this slide, then just think about what he's going to think he can get away with in the future. I'm not saying once a cheater, always a cheater necessarily, but just think about the amount of manipulation and lying that he's capable of. That would be enough for me, so I don't know. DTMFA.
Hi, Dan. I'm calling as a comment for the caller who is typically a top and is wondering how he can enjoy bottoming. And I think your advice was good. The only thing I would also add to that is because he's not bottoming often, in fact, he says it's very rare for him, it could just be that his body is not attuned to it. When you talk about penetrative sex in any kind of way, like I'm having anal sex and I have not done anything with my asshole in a long time other than use it in the bathroom. My suggestion would be that he should incorporate some anal play even while he's topping. He doesn't indicate whether or not he's ever using butt plugs or anal beads or anything like that. But if he starts to associate anal penetration with what feels good, that might change up how his brain is perceiving it. It will also make his ass more used to having something inside of it. So when he does get penetrated, it might be a more comfortable feeling, and therefore he might be able to enjoy it more.
Hi, I'm calling in response to the call from this week's episode about the Barbie buy. Totally cool with the name. Love it. I just wanted to add, as a woman who has actually never been with another woman like that, but has always kind of been interested in it, I recently came to the realization that I'm bi, not Barbie bi, just bi, because it occurred to me that before I had ever sucked a dick, I thought that was gross too. So I just want to encourage this Barbie bi listener to be open-minded, and it may seem kind of gross and then be kind of awesome. So give it a try. See what happens, because you never know.
And we are going to leave it there. Got a sex question for me at savage.love/askdan. You can record and upload your question or your comment directly onto our website, or you can make a voice memo on your very own phone and email us your question at q@savage.love, or you can call us at 206-302-2064. There are still a couple of days to get us your short 1 minute or less questions for our 1000th episode of The Quickie Show coming up in January. Record and send your quick question to q@savage.love. Hump, early bird discounted tickets on sale now. The Hump jury met this week in Seattle. We watched hundreds of submissions, and oh my God, have we got a great dirty little film festival for you. 2 of them, spring and fall. Get your early bird discounted tickets now to screenings in theaters, which is how Hump was meant to be seen, at humpfilmfest.com. And a big shout out and thank you for everyone who submitted a film for Hump 2026. You guys knocked our socks off. Follow me on Blue Sky at Dan Savage. Follow me on Instagram at Dan Savage. Follow Dr. Alicia Walker on Twitter at Alicia M. Walker1. To learn more about Dr. Alicia Walker's work and to learn about her books, get her books, go to alicia-walker.com. And while you're online, be sure to swing by our merch shop to get your GGG panties, your Fuck First mugs, your Feast of the Ass hats, all the gifts you need for every pervert on your list. The Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Hartuni and me and Nancy and the tech-savvy at-risk youth. We will all be back at you next week for an installment of the Savage Lovecast. Thank you for downloading.